of September, I had a meeting with Dave, who edits the Wye Invader films that we do on the River Severn and Sharpness Canal. He felt that it would be a good idea, as we were near the end of the season and the Wye Invader Two was coming out of the water for the winter, that he came on the last trip to get some camera shots for use when editing next year's films. I spoke to the lock and booked the trip for mid-morning, the 6th of October. We were to wait by the bridge at 09:30 for it to be opened. Dave arrived at 08:30. We had a quick coffee and a chat about what might be possible to film. Andy then stayed on Wye Invader Two while Dave and I walked around the docks so he could pick up the positions to do the first shots. By the time we got back to Wye Invader Two, the bridge was about to open. It didn't take long to start up the engine and move off to go through the bridge. About 1/3 of the way, on the starboard side, we passed a large ship, the Countess Hannah, who had just finished unloading. The lock was about 200 metres ahead. We moored up in the forward port section of the lock and spoke to the lockmaster, who gave us extended mooring ropes because of the depth when the lock is lowered. He told us that we had 4.5 metres on this movement of water on a rising tide. Just astern of us was a sailing boat, Paradox. We moored up, the lock gates were closed, and we were then lowered.
Say that again.
4.6.
4.6.
Where are you headed to?
Just out across the Lindy, then back across. So what you have to do is take that 2.5 metres off what he said you've got. So we'll go up the channel.
5 metres now.
You can see Lydney on the other side of the Severn. We passed the outer sea lock. Just ahead, we could see what was left of the tide.
Now we're just turning now into the current.
As we left the shelter of the outer entrance and turned into the tide towards the first nuclear power station at Berkeley.
And what we're going to do is turn to the starboard and go across there, and we've got 3 metres of above chart datum, and we've got 5 metres of tide, so we actually got 2 metres, 6 foot underneath us when we go across.
We turned to the right just before the power station, where we checked the chart. We had 2 to 3 metres of sand above bottom chart datum and 5 metres of tide, giving us a 2 metre clearance to cross the Lydney. As we crossed the Severn, the wind was from the northeast with a rising tide, so we had a wind over tide situation, which made the crossing a little rough. As we got to Lydney Dock entrance, I turned Wye Invader Two just upstream. The dock entrance sheltered us from the current and made the turn a lot easier. At this point, Dave was hanging over the side with a camera, and he was holding him to make sure we didn't lose him. About 100 metres from the dock entrance, I got on the radio and spoke to the pier, and they gave permission to enter.
I think he will be alright, actually.
In the distance you could see the inner lock gates were still open, so I passed through the outer sea lock gates and into the inner lock. The gates were soon closed and the lock filled quickly.
There's a lot of water, isn't it?
Yeah, very splashy.
As the top gate was opened, Dave stepped off to continue filming, and he also managed to film the dock bridge as we passed through. After mooring up, we had time to feed the swans before a well-earned coffee.